from Abuja.
Hello, thank you for being a part of our show. We appreciate you. I'm Magnus Kpakol, and this is Magnus Kpakol GVA. As always, it's all about how we can raise the level of living. That's what it's all about. In view today, Democracy 101 for Nigeria. So we have just concluded the 2019 Nigerian presidential elections. Did we learn anything from our preparedness and to the election exercise itself? How about the now very infamous card reader? And then also vote buying, militarization, thuggery, election sequencing, training and sensitization of the people are not just the meaning of democracy, but what it all entails. And so to discuss this so-called Democracy 101, we have Dr. Mituola Olasupo of the University of Abuja. But before our discussion with Dr. Olasupo, we'll look at the hidden economics of the Nigerian factor. Now up next in our quick view, we've got technology on the go. That's coming right up. In 2015, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, adopted technology called the INEC Voters Identification System, or IVAS. This is the now very infamous card reader. Technology is supposed to improve productivity, efficiency, and transparency. So because of this, we adopted the card reader again for the 2019 elections. Having done that, why are there reported failures again, 4 years after the experience of 2015? Maybe it's time for us to improve on the human capital requirements for the utilization of the card reader, and by extension, other technologies that are now available to us. Indeed, we need more knowledge about even some of the very popular technologies we use, such as the USB that we use to store or transfer computer data, and the UPS used to provide electric power to electronics and appliances. In this connection, in relation to the computer and storing or transferring data, what does USB stand for? Unconnected Systems Board, Universal Serial Bus, Universal System Board, United States of Britain. For providing electric power to computers and other electronic products, what does UPS stand for? Undisturbed Power System, United Parcel Service, Uninterruptible Power Supply, and Universal Power Supply. Stay with us for our answers coming up shortly. Still in view, Dr. Mituola Olasupo on Democracy 101 for Nigeria. Now up next in our hidden economics, the Nigerian factor. Stay with us.
Yeah. Don't let that tell you you can't, and they won't help you just so you know. Just keep on pushing.
your mayor by the great 26-year-old Teniola Apata, better known as Tenny. Teniola is a Nigerian singer, songwriter, and entertainer. Practically just starting in 2016, Tenny has become a world-class sensation, winning Rookie of the Year at the 2018 The Headies Awards, as well as Most Promising Act to Watch at the 2018 Nigeria Entertainment Awards. She won Best New Artist in the 2018 Sound City MVP Awards Festival. Okay, she's so talented. Let's just get going. Uyo Mayo is pulled from an old Ondo folk song. The core message is set on the belief that celebration with people who have joy will lead to a celebration of your own. But basically, you keep pressing on. Never give up. As she says, don't let them tell you you can't, because they won't even help you, just so you don't. And so they thought it was all over, but God said it's just getting started. So what real Nigerian factor is captured in this? By nature, Nigerians like to celebrate every God-given victory. Nigerians are winners. So if it has not happened to you yet, just keep pressing on. It will soon happen. This is the Nigerian spirit. Don't let anyone stop you, especially when they thought it was all over. Unfortunately, today, the Nigerian factor has become something bad that they believe Nigerians do. And Nigerians themselves now use this expression a lot. This has to change. The Nigerian factor, or what I call the Nigerian exceptionalism, is the Nigerian can-do spirit involving love and competitiveness. As you press on the win in whatever it is, realize that an increase in the quality of the Nigerian brand or Nigerian exceptionalism will positively shift the demand for you and for what is Nigerian. Economists will call this a positive change in demand for Nigeria. It will be good for all, and that means for those who have won today and those who will win tomorrow. Our hidden economics. Before we start our discussion, here are our quick view answers. Universal Serial Bus is the full name for USB. It is a bus because you use it to carry or transfer data from one device to another. Uninterruptible Power Supply or Power Source is the full name for UPS, used for electronic devices and appliances. For comments, adverts, and sponsorship, please see our information displayed on the screen. So what is Democracy 101 for Nigeria? Elections and the electoral process constitute a great criticality in what democracy is. To have democracy or rule by the people would first elect those to represent them. So given the rejection of the result of the presidential election by the main opposition party, is democracy alive in Nigeria? or is this itself a veritable dimension of it? To help us with this, we have Dr. Mutiola Olasipo. Dr. Olasipo is a senior lecturer in the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the University of Abuja, where he teaches political science, political economy, and international economic relations. Please join us in our discussion with Dr. Mutiola Olasipo. Okay, Doctor, welcome back to our show.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. We're always pleased to have you with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, today we want to talk about what I call democracy 101 for Nigeria.
Okay.
So we've just completed the presidential election. We have a winner declared by the INEC. Did democracy win, in your opinion? Especially considering that the main opposition candidate is going to court.
Let me start by saying that the democratic process in Nigeria is of a major concern to the international community, not because Nigeria is Africa's largest democracy, but Nigeria serves as the bellwether for the continental stability and sustainable development. And to underscore such importance, one needs to ensure that election is being conducted in a very free, fair, and credible atmosphere, so that you'll be able to repose the confidence of appropriate leadership recruitment into the people. As a matter of fact, the 2019 presidential election had come and gone, and it has actually recorded another critical and defining moment in the Nigerian socio-political history. I would say that this last election, democracy in Nigeria is still on course. We have not reached where we're supposed to be as the largest democracy in the continent. And we have to make more frantic effort to ensure that we get it right. Considering what happened in 2015 when we held a very relatively credible, free and fair election. And the whole world was so excited that Nigeria was about getting it right. But I will tell you that...
How do you say that we had a more credible election in 2015? Is it because the challenger won?
No. It's not. If you look at the variables that were present in the 2015 general election, you will agree with me that the atmosphere was very, very tense before the election.
Yeah.
And the election was also keenly contested for. And the process was very credible. It was free and fair.
I guess then,
according to the international observers' comments.
Let's go to our people. So, are you saying that because then the loser
congratulated
that it was credible? Okay,
yes,
that's the point.
And that was why he congratulated the winner. Yes. You know, the INEC, the electoral umpire, has not even announced. They have not declared the winner before the loser congratulated the winner, simply because he believed fervently that the process of the election was very credible.
Yes.
So there was no point in delaying the congratulatory message.
Yeah.
And that actually doused down the tension that would have followed the declaration of the winner.
Yes.
So we expected something better than that in this 2019 presidential election.
Yeah.
But to my surprise, if you look at the kind of issues, the intrigues that preceded the election, before the postponement, before activities were cancelled, and so on and so forth. So you'll agree with me that democracy in Nigeria is still on course. We have not reached where we're supposed to be. And we have to do everything possible to ensure that we get it right.
When you say intrigues, what were some of the intrigues?
I'm talking about the political intrigues, even though we have not been told the details of what led to the postponement of election. We're only told about the logistical challenges.
So that seemed not to be very satisfactory to a lot of people.
It wasn't satisfactory.
Due to logistics.
Because when you say logistic problems or logistical challenges, in what way, in what sense?
Yeah.
So Nigerian demands more explanation to what actually led to the postponement of the election at the wee hours.
Yes.
You know, so to me, it was like Nigeria was taken for granted at that time. Majority of Nigerians had already prepared to go for election, and so many people had psychological focus that election is taking place in the morning, or to hear that it has been postponed. So we need more explanation to that, and I believe INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakub, promised to give all the detail after the election. Maybe he was trying to avoid all sorts of
probably he will. But to
speculations.
Go on here, how important is voting to the process of democracy?
Very, very important. In fact, election is indispensable in every democratic setting.
Okay.
So the election is central to the whole essence of democracy. Okay. According to Robert Dow, you cannot have a democracy without election, because it's one of the major pillars of democracy. If you don't get your election very appropriately right, it will be very difficult for you to be referred to as a democratic society.
Okay.
So I am of the opinion that we need to revisit our electoral act, our electoral processes in Nigeria. We need to ensure that we have a very credible, free and fair election if actually we want to be recognized and be reckoned with in the continent as the largest democracy.
Is it the electoral act that will make the electoral process credible?
Of course, when the electoral act
But you can write the act and people won't follow it.
That is what I'm saying. But let's have the appropriate electoral act in place, and at the same time, let's do everything possible to ensure that we have credible people of integrity at the aims of affairs of INEC. You know, when you have people who are very competent, who are very prudent in managing the fund given to the electoral management body, I believe we'll be able to get it right. Because what happened, look at what happened there. Professor Jega didn't do any magic when it's come to managing the electoral process. The way that manner he did it, Professor Jega in 2015 election. It wasn't a magic.
Okay.
It was what he called administrative competence. And in a political palace, we call it administrative acumen. For any individual who has been given the opportunity to carry out a specific assignment, Jega was given the responsibility alongside with authority, and he was able to deliver for Nigerians, and that's what earned him international recognition. I was expecting the current INEC chairman to do the same, and unfortunately, what we saw in the last election was not satisfactory. It can't even be compared with what we'll experience in 2015. So I'm expecting all the stakeholders to sit down and try to onboard INEC.
Okay, then, Doctor, as an expert in this area,
yep.
We've been doing this now since 1999, if we come to this dispensation.
Yep.
So how come we're still struggling with card readers? We're struggling with ballot snatching, ballot paper snatching. We're struggling with ballot boxes missing. We're hearing reports of all kinds of
political toggle and the rest.
Political issues
all these
surrounding elections. Hey, are we making, and one of the reasons we're calling this Democracy 101 is that we have not mastered these kinds of things yet.
Yes.
So why have we not mastered? Why have we not come to a point where by now we would have had an election, and the main challenger would say, okay, I think I truly lost. Why haven't we got to that point?
Yes.
For lay people, democracy is basically a government by the people. Demo is from the Greek word demos, which means people. Cracy is from kratos, which in Greek means strength or power. So if ultimate power does not rest with the people, then democracy is not happening. Now, Emily Rodriguez of the National Democratic Institute in Washington, D.C., has defined democracy as a system of governance that exists at the point where inclusion, transparency, and accountability intersect with institutions, social contract, and the rule of law. As she says, in order to qualify as a democracy, a country must have institutions, including but not limited to a legislature, an executive, an independent judiciary, political parties, media, and a body that oversees elections. It must have some sort of social contract with its citizens, such as a constitution or electoral law that would provide for freedoms and rights while outlining responsibilities. The country must also enthrone the rule of law, which punishes crimes and where everyone is treated equally. As she says, and as is universal wherever democracy is practiced, inclusion means that no one is excluded from participating in the process of shaping policy and choosing representatives. The citizenry must have the right to know how the process works and what their government is doing. So transparency is central and critical. And then in the end, accountability means that a structure exists whereby the powers that be face consequences if they do not follow the rules. So are these things happening in our democracy? I strongly feel that we still have a lot of work to do, and this across board for all political parties and all citizens. Therefore, the leadership during its time bears the immediate responsibility to make democracy work through sensitization, incentives, and sanctions, and all within the rule of law. However, poor countries, as we have in Africa, with weak or fragile institutions, will tend to fail in their Democracy 101, betrayed mostly by poverty and human capital deficiency. People will sell their votes for food, and deficiencies in human capital will betray systems and create failures. Therefore, much work needs to be done in Nigeria. We can do it together. At the EBS, we are working on innovative and sustainable strategies for human capital development and poverty eradication. I believe that for democracy to work, these issues must be addressed, and quickly. I'm Magnus Kpakol, and that's my view.